Well, hi, everyone. I am Congressman Mark Alford from the 4th District of the great state of Missouri. Thank you for joining us today. We have some exciting news to tell you about. This is a historic day, not just for the state of Missouri, but for Whiteman Air Force Base as well, the 442nd Fighter Wing, and really communities all over Missouri's 4th Congressional District. After years and years of hard work, persistence, and determination, our office has secured a major victory. The Department of Air Force has just approved the first major step in bringing the F-15E Strike Eagle mission to Whiteman Air Force Base. It's been identified as the sole candidate location for this mission. And as I said, this is an historic moment for our community. Long before I got to Congress, future constituents, friends, families, neighbors all stress the importance of this critical wing that's been in existence since 1943. So when I did get to Congress, I made a commitment, a priority to fight for the future of 442nd Fighter Wing. I visited them in person when I got into office and heard directly from the airmen, veterans, families, and community leaders who were worried about what came next after the A-10 mission. They told me clearly this was about more than an aircraft. This was about protecting a mission, protecting jobs, supporting families, and preserving Whiteman's role in defending our great nation. You know, I carried those voices with me to Washington, and for 3.5 years, we fought hard to make sure the Air Force understood what Whiteman brings to our country. I want to thank Governor Mike Kehoe, our senators, local leaders, community advocates, and really everyone involved in this fight. This was a team effort. Governor Kehoe took the importance of Whiteman's mission directly to the Oval Office to talk to President Trump at the White House about it, to make sure that our message was clearly heard at the highest levels. We brought Air Force generals directly to our office in Washington, D.C. This victory was made possible because Missouri stood together. This decision puts us on a path to bringing 24 Strike Eagles to Whiteman, preserving a combat-ready Air Force Reserve fighter mission, protecting our workforce, and ensuring the 442nd continues its proud legacy of excellence. Most importantly, this is a victory for the men and women of the 442nd. Their professionalism, their readiness, their decades of service really earned us this opportunity. So today we celebrate with them. But the work continues. As the Vice Chair of the Appropriations Subcommittee on Military Construction and Veterans Affairs, I'll be working hard to make sure that we have the facilities necessary for this program. And keep in mind, we're also bringing the new B-21 Stealth Raider to Whiteman in the not-too-distant future while maintaining the readiness of the B-2 Stealth Spirit. The mission continues to grow. We welcome to Whiteman the F-15E Strike Eagle. We'll see you when you get here. And with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Is it important to bring the F-15 for military purposes, or what was the reasoning for bringing that wing here?
Well, look, the 442nd has been an important reserve fighter wing, I said, since 1943. We needed to keep a mission going for that personnel, but also the F-15E is part of our future for our strategic allies and for what we're doing, not just in the Mideast right now, but also for Indo-PACOM. One of the reasons that the A-10 was being phased out is because those at the highest levels felt like it would not be needed for our future adversaries or for what we're facing possibly in China, in our possible defense of Taiwan. I think they realized, especially with what's been going on in Iran and the A-10 being used in that, and our advocacy for extending the A-10 program, that they realized the continued importance of the A-10. And so while that is going to be phased out, the F-15E will be phased into Whiteman. It's not going to happen all at once. We're not going to get all 24 fighter jets there, but the program will remain intact. The people, the pilots, the maintainers will start to transition over to this new program.
The F-15 is kind of an older platform. Do you see that it's got a prolonged future?
Oh, yeah. So the F-15E, yeah, this is also a big win for Boeing in St. Louis because they built the F-15E. And this is an older platform, but it's had many updates over the years. And we're proud to have this machine. It is a fighter jet that has won a lot of victories and will continue to do so out of the Whiteman Air Force Base.
Congressman, when obviously, like you said, the A-10 I won't say it's winding down, but certainly bigger, better, newer platforms are coming on the scene. Was there ever a moment where you thought we could lose this? Was there ever a moment where you thought to yourself, if we don't work hard, if we don't go the extra mile, we could lose this for Whiteman Air Force Base for the 442nd?
You know, that's a very good question. It's been difficult the last 3.5 years because some in the Air Force, especially before this administration, before President Trump and Pete Hegseth, really bringing back the warrior ethos to the military. We were in great fear of losing our fighter wing. We actually brought the chairman of the Armed Services Committee 2 years ago to Whiteman Air Force Base to hear directly from these reserve members, to also see the B-2 that's out there. But I think everyone started to realize that we've got to maintain our fighter forces here at this important base. This is too important of a base not to have our fighter wing. And so there was talk at one time about transitioning some of these pilots and maintainers over to the new B-21 program. And some of that could still happen. I'm not sure exactly the details on that, but I do know that we are going to get a fighter wing for the fighter pilots and the fighter maintainers. And that's an important step in keeping Whiteman relevant and hoping that it stays around for a long time.
I don't want to belabor the point. I know you've mentioned this, but just how gratifying is it for you personally, and just for all the folks, not only in your office, but for the whole congressional delegation, to be able to, with you leading the way, just sort of make sure that all of this stays in place? How gratifying is this?
I could never say I did this on my own. This was a team effort. Governor Kehoe, Eric Schmidt, our senator, myself, it was a full court press on the Air Force. And we got generals at the highest level involved in my office to make sure that they understood that we needed this. We had to have it at Whiteman Air Force Base. It is very satisfying to me. As you know, in Congress, we don't get a lot of wins. We've gotten several bills passed. It goes to the Senate, and it tends to die there. But this is something that will not die. It is going to live on for the community at Whiteman Air Force Base, for the pilots and the maintainers who actually live here in the Kansas City area. I even have some in my neighborhood. This was very personal to me. I took this very personal because I heard their stories firsthand. I met with them at lunches. I met with advocates and stakeholders who understood the importance of the 442nd. And to tell you the truth, before I got into office, I knew what the B-2 was. I didn't know about the 442nd. And I went out there and learned as much as I could, repeatedly going out there, understanding their mission, understanding their dedication and their love for what they do. And that really hit home to me. I wanted to help them, but I also wanted to help our nation. And this is certainly going to do that.
You mentioned also a B-1 bomber.
A B-2 stealth bomber.
Right, that's what's there currently.
Yes, we're building a B-21 stealth Raider out in Palmdale, California, that will eventually replace the B-2. And we also fought hard to make sure that ended up at Whiteman Air Force Base. There'll be 3 bed-down locations for the B-21. Ellsworth Air Force Base being number 1. We'll get the second wave of those, and then Dyess Air Force Base in Texas. And they'll rotate those. I've been out to Palmdale 2 times now, checking on the construction of the B-21. It is a marvelous platform. We just had a meeting in Washington with generals and colonels involved in the program 2 weeks ago. The Appropriations Committee and Congress has authorized 100 of these to be built, and we are now looking at upping that to 147, possibly 152 units. Originally in the 1980s, we were going to build over 100 B-2 stealth bombers. And once the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union was no more, we kind of let our foot off the gas pedal, thinking that we didn't need these B-2 stealth bombers as badly as we did when we were going up in the Russians. I think that was short-sighted, because had we had 100 B-2s right now, I don't think we would be facing some of the adversaries that we are now. The B-21 is going to be a marvelous platform. I can't get into great details. Much of it is classified, but it is going to be a great deterrent against communist China.
Do you have a timeline of maybe when that plane leaves?
Yeah, so I can't get into the exact number that's already complete, but they have done several test flights on the one that has been completed. And the production line is going smoothly. Let's put it that way. This is not going to happen overnight. As I said, Ellsworth Air Force Base in the Dakotas will get the first round of those for the bed down, and then we'll get the second round. We still have a lot of work to do at Whiteman. This is the exciting part for me about being on the Appropriations Committee, and especially the Vice Chair of the Military Construction VA, because I get to advocate now. I've already been out to Whiteman talking to the colonel out there and some others in the Air Force. What do we need to build at Whiteman to get ready? We have hangars out there for the B-2, but they're not going to be the same hangars that we need for the B-21. We're also going to have hangars for the 24 F-15Es that are coming. Right now, the A-10s are, if you've seen it out there, they're housed under a kind of a shed-looking thing, an apron that keeps the sun off them. But those are going to have to be upgraded some form or fashion. And so there'll be people at higher levels than me, of course, the Air Force and Secretary of War, looking at exactly what we need out there. And then we'll be working for those dollars to bring that home. And I'm confident, being on the Appropriations Committee, we'll be able to get that done.
The F-15 Eagle, isn't that the two-seater?
Yeah, yes, it is. And in fact, I have some pictures here. This is the F-15E.
And this particular, not the F-15E itself, but the F-15 has seen combat missions, I believe, since the first Gulf War. Is that
Yes,
correct?
That's my understanding. And you know, this is, I think, a great testament to Boeing as well, who made the F-15E and is now making the F-47. We were lucky enough to be out there several months ago. The Department of War was out there. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, was there as Boeing announced it was moving its defense operations to St. Louis and getting out of Washington, D.C. So it's a opportunity for Boeing, I think, to have its product back in the show me state.
And one question, again, Congressman, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but you mentioned the F-47. Do you think that perhaps Whiteman could be a nice home for part of the F-47 once it's rolling off the assembly line?
I don't know what the plans are for that. I know the F-47 has a lot more capabilities than the F-15E does, certainly. The F-35 is still in production, and I think this is really the first step in proving that Whiteman needs to be a base for a fighter wing in perpetuity. And so the A-10 served its purpose and did it with valor and dignity. And the pilots and maintainers who still in the 442nd deserve, I think, a round of applause from the United States of America for what they've done. The sad thing is that we were starting to lose pilots and maintainers in the 442nd already. We had advocated strongly for extending the A-10 program, and we were partially successful in that, not as long as we wanted to extend it. But this gives them an opportunity to stay with the program until the F-15Es get here. Now, I also want to say this is the first in several steps. There's a lot of planning that has to go into this, a lot of regulatory steps, but this is a first step that I've been waiting on for 3.5 years, for the Air Force to give us a call and to email us with a detailed plan of how this is going to work out. And so I want to thank the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. I want to thank the Air Force General. I particularly want to thank General Healy, who was in my office, who really understood the importance of keeping the 442nd strong at Whiteman Air Force Base.
Any idea of how many jobs this will help bring in or sustain?
Well, right now, I was looking at those numbers. It's just under 2,000 personnel, I believe, that are connected with this program. And as I said, some are already have left, and I don't know the exact number that still is out there. We just got this information today. And so I flew back from Arizona to be a part of this. But when we get more details, we will lay that out. If you go to our official accounts, alford.house.gov, We will have regular updates and at Rep Mark Alford on all social media accounts. This is just the beginning of this story. And so we will be following this and keeping taxpayers up to date of where their taxpayer money is going and why it's so important that we have this mission.
Can you tell us what base they're flying in from, or where they'll be leaving out of Arizona?
No, I don't know the information on that. Yeah. Now, I want to correct something. I came in from Arizona. These are not coming from Arizona. I came in on Southwest Airlines. So, yeah. All right.
Good.
Well, thank you very much. And that concludes our live portion of this exciting announcement for Whiteman Air Force Base. Again, I'm Congressman Mark Alford, working for you in the 4th Congressional District. Please keep up with us on our website and again on our social media at Rep Alford, and then on our website as well. Thank you.